Are semi stocks still a buy here? This is a question a lot of traders, including myself, are wondering right now. So I decided to make a video about it. And the reason so many people are curious about this is because semiconductor stocks just had a monster week, and NVIDIA really led the charge. You can see here that it rallied 25% on the week. And this huge move in NVIDIA was sparked after the company shared its quarterly results. But it wasn't what happened in the first quarter that had investors and traders really excited. It's what's about to happen. So you see, NVIDIA delivered revenue guidance for the ages. The company expects to do about $11 billion in sales for the current quarter, and that's 52% higher than what Wall Street was expecting. And so what's important about this is that right now you have a lot of naysayers and bears talking about how artificial intelligence, AI, is just pure hype. It's a bubble and it'll fade away soon. But what we saw from NVIDIA's report is that AI is already having a material impact on its underlying business. And so that has traders and investors really excited, not just about NVIDIA, but semiconductor stocks as a whole. So we can see here that the news really triggered a monster move across the industry. AMD was able to close the week up 20% and looking super strong here. We also had a huge move in super microcomputer. So this is a lesser known semiconductor name, much smaller than AMD and NVIDIA, but it's been one of the strongest semiconductor stocks, period. You can see here that it closed the week up 33% and just been in a monster uptrend for quite some time. So really positive action there. The news also triggered some big breakouts in stocks like Broadcom. You can see here that it had closed the week up 90% on monster volume, breaking out of this huge base here. So you gotta like that if you're a bull. Onto Innovation, another name that closed at new highs here after emerging out of this space. And KLAC, so this is KLAC Corporation, similar setup to what we just saw in Onto, came out of this big rounded base, broke out to new highs here. So overall, really, really positive price action in the semiconductor space. And we could see here that the semiconductor ETF is looking very, very strong here. It came out of this bottoming pattern here, put some higher highs, higher lows in, came out, had this initial breakout, came back down, tested this level, and just rocketed higher here. And after a move like this, many are wondering, should they still hold on to their semis, or semi still buys at these levels? And I think, well, my short answer is yes. And I know that might come as a surprise to many. After all, we still have these bears telling us that AI is a bubble. They're promising us that this is going to end badly, as they always do. I also see some bulls on my timeline, on my Twitter timeline, talking about fading this move and potentially rotating into weaker areas of the market, such as energy. But I honestly think it's too early for that. And I say this for a few reasons. So for starters, when we look at semiconductor stocks here, so we look at SMH, we can see it just broke out of this space. Yes, it's had 2 monster weeks in a row, and it's coming up into some overset supply, some resistance here. But in my opinion, this isn't super strong resistance here. It's just a few weeks of trading. So I think in time, this resistance could get chewed through, and SMH could head much higher from here. When we look at some other individual names like KLAC, you could see it's just breaking out to new highs already. These breakouts to me, don't indicate exhaustion. They indicate a beginning of a trend. So Onto is similar thing. If you were to look at Broadcom, a little bit more extended, but overall, just breaking out of a big base and ripping higher. Not necessarily moves you want to fade, and definitely not moves I don't think you want to short here. So just the individual price action of semis leads me to believe that we're in the early innings of a move for semiconductor stocks. I'm also encouraged by what I'm seeing from SPY. So unlike tech stocks, unlike semiconductor stocks, and even unlike the Qs, we haven't seen a big breakout in SPY yet. But this looks very constructive. This is a chart I've shared several times before. We've had this bottoming inverse head and shoulders pattern, broke the downtrend, and have just been climbing out of this space steadily. The 30-week moving average is heading higher, 10-week moving average is rising and acting as support. And I'm expecting SPY to break out possibly very early this coming week, because over the weekend, as I'm sure you saw, the debt ceiling situation was resolved. And that was really one of the biggest uncertainties hanging over the market. And the markets don't like uncertainty, but with that out of the way, I think we'll start to see a bid into SPY, into other sectors. And we could also see a FOMO bid into some of these semi names. So overall, I'm expecting a positive reaction to the debt ceiling being resolved, because that was just something hanging over the head of the market. So if we do see some money, come into the market this week, yes, I think we could see some moves in the semiconductor stocks that are doing really well, the names that I've already discussed. But I also think we could see some money find its way into semiconductor names that are still setting up. And Air Test Systems is one of those names. So this name rings a bell. It's because it was one of the strongest stocks for a while there. So it bottomed last July and then had an over 500% rally between July and March of this year. So just a tremendous rally. And when the stock was trading up here, when the broader market was starting to firm up and look pretty good, it actually pulled back. I think there was just too many eyeballs on it. It came off this huge run, a little bit too extended. So the market needed to shake out some people, and we had about a 40%, 43% drawdown. Came back down. Looked for a second there like it was going to break down because we lost the support level, but we quickly reclaimed it. Now we're back above the rising 30-week moving average. We're back above that rising 10-week moving average. So I think this name is looking really, really constructive. And then it's a name that's still flying under the radar of a lot of people right now. I think a lot of people are focused on the bigger semi names that have run, but I think we could see some rotation into other semi stocks that are still setting up here. So definitely one to watch. I also like what I'm seeing of this smaller semi name COHU. So this is just what I really like about this is this huge inverse head and shoulders bottoming pattern that it looks like it's about to resolve and break out of. So if you were to look at the price action of stocks like Micron or Broadcom or Onto Innovation, they had these huge rounded bases, and COHU's rounded base is a little different. It's an inverse head and shoulders pattern, but it's even larger. So I think once we break out of here, this thing could really get moving, not just higher, but for much longer. That's what happens after stocks have these long consolidation patterns. And we're not trading too far off highs right here. So we can see if we break out of this and are able to chew through this overhead supply, then it's really blue skies for this stock here. So this is a name I'm definitely watching very closely for this week. Looks really good. As far as other sectors or other industries in the market to keep an eye on, I really like software right now. So software is really probably the second strongest sector in the market right now behind semiconductor stocks. Just tech in general is doing well, but software is an area within tech that I think we could see some rotation into going forward. The reason I say that is when we look at IGV, the software sector ETF, we can see that's still in a very, very strong uptrend coming out of a base here. And we are not as strong as semis right now, but we did close at new 52-week highs this week. And, this is just an area of the market that I think it isn't as extended as some of these semi names are. But overall should benefit from, just the bullish market conditions we're in right now. So some rotation out of maybe some red hot semi names into some software names that aren't as extended, I think, as a scenario that we want to be mindful of this week. As far as individual software stocks that I like, Duolingo's really high on my list. So this is one of the strongest software stocks, period. We can see that, it's rallied about 130% since December. And, many people might see a move like that, think, oh, you're chasing, you're here. But we can see that most of that move came up between December and March of this year. And then really we kind of just been consolidating and had a decent pullback. And, we're just consolidating above this level right here. So I like buying stocks that are showing really good strength, and Duolingo is just one of the strongest software stocks, period. So that's a name I'm watching very closely. Also like what I'm seeing out of ServiceNow, similar to a lot of semi names we've covered in this video. It just came out of this big rounded base. Got a little bit more overhead supply to work through, but this is looking really strong for continuation going forward. So that's ServiceNow. I like what I'm seeing out of Double Verify Holdings. What I like about this name is that it bottomed back in May of last year, so ahead of schedule, and then put in a higher low on the weekly here. And then you can see here that's really starting to begin a new uptrend with some higher highs and higher lows. Came out and broke out to the highest level since January of 2022, maybe a little higher actually. But overall, very, very positive. price action out of this name looking really strong. We are at a somewhat of a resistance level here, so you want to see how this name trades after an 11% weekly gain. But overall, really like the strength out of this name. It's already breaking out to the highest level since early 2022. So I just really ahead of schedule, moving in the right direction. Also like what I'm seeing from PCOR Technologies. Similarly, it bottomed back in May of last year, putting a higher low on the weekly here, and then is just starting to build out another base here. So really constructive action. Just when you look at it the weekly, you can clearly see the beginnings of an uptrend here. So hasn't quite broke out of the stage 1 base yet, but I think it's only a matter of time. And when it does, I think this one could run for a while and much higher. So that's PCOR Technologies. Last name I want to discuss was a name I actually did a longer video about, and that's TOST. So as explained in that previous video, this is a software company that helps restaurants with point of sale solutions and online ordering, that sort of stuff. The reason I like it is because it began its bottoming process well ahead of schedule back in May of last year, and is now building out a new base here. And I really like the strength that I'm starting to see pour into this name here. So we can see, we're working on, we just had 7 positive green weeks in a row on good volume. So this is some change of character stuff, some really impressive strength. Still hasn't broken out of the stage 1 base, but I think it's only a matter of time. Another thing I like about this name, which is something I covered in my previous video, is that Stanley Druckenmiller, one of the world's greatest traders, he initiated a position in this during the first quarter. And the reason that's relevant is just, Stanley Druckenmiller is the GOAT, but Stanley Druckenmiller also made an initial investment into NVDA in the fourth quarter of last year. He made it one of his largest positions and then doubled down on it in the first quarter of this year. So definitely not a guy you want to bet against. So that's just kind of a cherry on top to what I'm seeing in the price action from TOST and the overall strength I'm seeing out of software stocks. But yeah, there's quite a few names to like right now. I think we're in a really good environment for traders and even longer term investors. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I'll also do more frequent updates on the stocks I covered today on my Twitter. So I'll put a link to my Twitter name in the description of this video. But that's it for today. Hope you found this video informative. Thanks.